Hello, welcome back to Money Network. We're on day 2 of the Precious Metal Summit, and I'm with TUDOR Gold, who have made one of the most significant gold discoveries in the last 30 years or so. And I'm with the CEO, Ken Conkin. Ken, good to be with you.
Thank you so much for having me. This is excellent.
Look, why don't we, I just mentioned they're one of the largest gold discoveries
Sure.
in recent times, but why don't you just give us a brief overview of the company and we'll dive in.
Okay. Yeah, just give you an update with what we've been doing for the last 5 years. We've got an updated mineral resource that came out in Q1 of 2024. We're now standing at 27.9 million ounces of 1.19 gold equivalent. Very significant. One particular domain has almost 3 billion pounds of copper with it. So what we're doing is focusing on that one essential metals domain within the multiple domain target of the Goldstorm Deposit, which is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle, one of the best, safest geopolitical arenas in the world.
Yeah, because I was looking at where you were on the map earlier. I mean, you got Eskay Creek, Skeeter's thing to the west of you. I think you've got KSM on to the southwest. You've got Bruce Jack just directly south to you. I mean, you're in a prolific camp at the moment. From what I understand as well, you've been working in this camp for a while, right? In this area. Why don't we talk a little bit about your history?
Yeah, I don't want to give away how much pain and suffering I've been through, but essentially in the 80s I started my career in the Bruce Jack camp. Yeah. And ironically, I was part of the team that Bob Quartermain, Joe Ofsnick, and Ken McNaughton assembled to go after the Bruce Jack Lake deposit, and I had the fortune of giving it the name of Valley of the Kings in 2010.
Yeah, nice.
So it was a great time working with those gentlemen. I was with them for 19 years at Silver Standard before that. And Pretium years were wonderful, but it really did set me up for what I was about to do with TUDOR Gold.
Yeah, and so when you did come and have a look at TUDOR Gold, what was the compelling reason? Obviously, I think you've now proven why you wanted to go there, because it's an absolute beast of a deposit. But when you first went there, geologically, obviously you're quite close to Seabridge and whatnot, but what was the appeal?
Well, there was a few compelling factors. One of them was I'm trying to clear off my desk and my mind all the unsolved Rubik's Cubes geologically. Yep. One of them was Bruce Jack. That one had a disturbing find that I could not explain, and that became the VOK style of mineralization, this colloidal theory. But later, I was bothered the fact that treaty never took traction. And having experience with with now Seabridge controls the Snowfields deposit, I was asked by Teuton's president, Dino Cremonese, to go and do an audit or have a look at his project that he was trying to get off the ground at Treaty Creek. So since I knew it well, I had a discovery there in 1987. So going back to my home turf really was really refreshing. So when I came back, I saw a drill hole in 2018 that I said, no, this is not like the other holes. You guys have no idea what you've got. Yeah. And it turned out to be the leader to the discovery of the Goldstorm Deposit. Okay,
and let's talk about geologically the deposit that you have found. Talk to me about these 30 million gold equivalent ounces that you've found. How continuous is the ore body? How separated are they into different deposits?
It's basically 4 major domains. There's about subdomains with it. There's actually 2 large gold dominant domains. Think of it as a hamburger, the American contribution to the cuisine. Here is a gold dominant bun with another gold dominant bun. That's the 300 horizon at apexes with another deeper DS5, deep stockwork 5, that is also gold dominant. In between the meat of this thing is a copper, gold, silver domain. Okay. And that's what we're working off of. Just to give you an idea of how large these things are, there was one intercept that ran well over a composite ran that included the 300 horizon right down through the CS600 that came close to 1.5 kilometers. So 1,497.5 meters of 1.12 gold equivalent, of which the superstar of the show was the CS600, the copper domain. That had 732 meters of 1.60 gold equivalent, of which the makeup was 0.91 gold, over 0.5% copper in that 732 meter run. And it was insane. But takeaway on that is I look at the #1 mine in Canada, Detour, head grades at 0.89, so even higher than the head grade. So we knew we had something that we had to expand on. But the real trick was figuring out where all of our ubiquitous high-grade hits were coming from. So that was the focus of 2024.
Okay, and how's that going?
I'm happy to say that yesterday we came out with a beautiful press release that when we do step outs, we're pretty aggressive. So in a big system, we know that we can step out aggressively.
Yeah.
But when you talk about structural corridors of micro breccias, people tend to stay close to home, 25, 50 meter step out. So we took our furthest holes that had this supercells, what I've named it. It's like think of it as a late stage superimposed high grade gold event that just cuts and radiates from the heart of the Goldstorm deposit. So what we're doing is we're tracking back the vascular system to the heart of the system, if you will. But when we clip these things on the outside, what happened is we realized that continuity was extreme at a high sense of continuity. So I've always got the saying, if grade is king, then continuity has got to be queen. So we actually took a 140 meter northern step out along with a 250 meter eastern step out and came out with 13.5 meters of 9.6 grams gold, consistent with the 10 grams of 10 gram we've been seeing throughout the entire program. Keep in mind that the discovery was made probably 3 years ago. We just didn't act on it. It was hole 134. That had a 25 meter envelope that ran 10 grams essentially, but the core of that 4.5 meters had 17 discrete grains of fine grain gold, dusted over 4.5 meters. Nice kind of homogeneic vent to it. Wasn't nuggety, which gives lend to a more homogeneous distribution. But the takeaway was that 4.5 meters was almost 21 grams gold. Wow. So extremely good grades for what's supposed to be a porphyry deposit. And that bothered me. How in the heck in 2020 we drill 49 holes and 10 had visible gold that weren't related to porphyry? We never acted on it. We waited till we got near the end of the deposit. And then on the way clipping this year, we're after 6 million tons, or 6 million ounces, 6 million ounces of gold equivalent running 1.25, higher than your 1.19, just to give us the best internal rate of return. We're pushing out those lobes. We clipped 3 supercells.
Right.
Not 1, but 3. We were shocked. We didn't see that coming. So we're happy to say we've got like a mini Valley of the Kings that's overprinting our porphyry. And right through, we think. So this year's exercise is going to be in the fall. Once all the results are in, we've got several holes still coming in. Once that's done, we're going to examine the anatomy of the internal workings of all of the gold, the CS600 and the 300 horizon, where all these gold hits occurred. And we're talking, 1.5 meters or 1 meter of 2-ounce material that is not attributable to anything that would be associated to a porphyry. It's definitely a late stage event. We see the cross-cutting event. So now, adding to the economic arsenal is this high-grade event that would be a great CapEx killer if you had a company that went down hunting for, say, 6 million tons of, let's call it 10 grams of 0.3. So you're talking about arguably 1.5 to 2 million ounces of gold here. So you run that for 5 to 7 years as you're developing. As your starter pit begins, as you started going down, and those same galleys penetrate through the CS600, that superstar, which you need galleon access ways for drilling off for the block cave. Right. So it made sense that development does pay.
Well, it's funny because I was just about to ask, obviously with all of these new great hits that you're getting, it's such a large deposit, and most people look at it and say, well, just go down the permitting route, get the economics ready, just start thinking about de-risking this thing to production. But surely this must change, like you're saying, this changes the way that you must.
It's a paradigm. It's another. It's a 2001 event when we knew we had critical metals, and we saw that we had CS600 with this incredible hole of 732 meters of 1.6. That changed the dynamic at 0.5%. Like 0.53% is nothing to sneeze at on a gold deposit. Yeah. So definitely that was a altering event for us. A pivotal point. This is another pivotal point in the company. Now we're looking on the eve of coming out with a PEA. Well, what would this do to a PEA? You're now looking at the sweetener for the coffee here. Yeah. You're talking about anybody that's a 15 billion market cap can look at us because they could start with 1 billion capex. You don't have to think about a 2 or 3 billion capex on a big, huge bulk tonnage target. Now, are obviously we'll be focusing on three things: high grade, and high grade. So this is what the objective will be for this next 3-4 months.
Okay, so there's a almost, I don't want to say there's the PEA when it comes out, almost, I hate to say it, it sounds like it's gonna be a bit out of date on release date.
Already it's out of date. We've got our engineers, so we're going to let them make a decision. Here's the worst thing about PEAs, and I'll tell you what it is. It's like if you get garbage in, you get garbage out. What happens is you make too many assumptions.
Yeah.
If you start making too many assumptions, people read through that, they know it. So my fear is that we haven't given the project a fair shake. If we actually do tighten up, and this will be curious what the variogram does, because the consistency is incredible of all these hits. It really is. Typically you'd hit dull zones or null zones or a couple grams, but we haven't had that. Every time we've gone through the plane, the weakest number was like 5.6 grams over, I think it was 6 meters or something of that nature. Yeah. Close to the cutoff of Brucejack at 6 grams, right? So to me, it's one of those exercises that you just have to go through, let the engineers do their, slice and dice, come up with an answer to say, guys, we'd like to see more drilling on this and this and this. And unfortunately, it's, as an explorationist, you have to hand the steering wheel over to the ship, to the engineers that know best, and will give you your path of least resistance to your best value and evaluation for the deposit. So this is where we're at, and I think it's going to be interesting this winter what we actually come up with.
So this is exciting though, right? Because essentially in 2024, the narrative changed from a very large, respectable grade, one and a bit gram, massive deposit, to now looking at a pretty significant high grade mine.
Correct. Okay. In the same rocks.
In the same rocks with.
It's not like you're developing a different mine on the side or something over the hill. It's not. It's important to the infrastructure. Okay. Your same ramp, your same decline, your same galleys, your same crosscuts, because you need penetration through the CS600 to get access. You have to understand, on a vertical sense for a block cave, this thing's got up to 400 meters of thickness on a vertical pillar sense. So when you're looking at things like that large, how are you going to get in tight enough to keep your hole straight to do your blast holes for your initial block cave? Yeah. You're going to need access throughout this thing. What better way of doing it than getting mining out a high-grade event and creating galleys and drill stations and having them put in place ready when the time goes to hit that plunger and say, yep, alley-oops, here we go.
Yeah, okay. All right, so look, geologically and with the drill bit, you're having huge amounts of success. I guess one other risk in mining is obviously the corporate side. I did have a look at your capital structure. It looks pretty good. You've obviously insiders and others, you've got a pretty good support there. Maybe we can just talk a little bit about that. How well funded are you? Sure.
Always we need money in the end going forward, but right now we're good. We're strong. We've stretched the money to make it through this program. Mr. Eric Sprott's been there since day one. He's hanging in at over 16%. We control 23% through the TUDOR Holdings, which was the former president that when he got ill, they appointed me as president, and I'll never fill Walter's shoes. He was a magnificent human being, wonderful man. And his fame really was being a founder of the Osisko Lake discovery. He was a financier for that aspect. So he had a lot of background in mining. So I think it was a great synergy. I was coming off of basically Brucejack Lake and finishing up in South America, coming up. I was ready to retire, but essentially 40%, 39.5 or something like that is basically insider held. Great shareholders in Germany too. Initial seed stock holders are still with us. There's a lot of groups that are high value clients that came in. Bob Quartermain was a major investor in the start of this thing as well when I came on board. So I think it's a good group of management we've got at the top. I think we've kept the team tight. We've got a very tight geological model, most importantly, and people cannot give this enough credit. That geological model had better be solid. If it's out and you're wrong and you put a galley or you put a drift or a ramp through the middle of high grade, it's going to sit there for 50 years sterilized. Yeah. So this is the importance of knowing what you're doing. Yeah. So with the team we've got, I think we've got exactly what's needed to run this thing forward. My goal is not to just get a buyout to get the biggest buck. It's not that. It's to put this thing into production or whatever creates the best value for the company.
Yeah.
And I think that is the path. That will be, no doubt about it. The evaluation will go up once we finish off the true PEA, including the high grade. I think we cannot ignore the high grade.
Yeah.
It's too important. It'll
Do
ratchet
you
the
delay,
IRR.
Do you delay the PA?
I don't know. That's an answer that I'm going to have to wait for the engineers what they say. I don't want to, start getting hate mail right away.
Right.
But you do. You know what? I have a saying, and this sounds kind of silly, but Goldstorm will let you out when she's ready, and she's not ready to let go of us. The Goldstorm is still cranking away. And to your comment earlier, people did say to me, or through me via back channels, like, tackle that man, he's a crazy guy because you got 27.9 million ounces of gold. What in the hell are you going to do with another 5-6 million ounces you can't do with the first 27? Well, the answer was, I knew there was high grade.
Well, that's the key thing.
I've always known that this was going to happen, because what you do is you maximize the porphyry play first. You maximize that to your best ability on 200 meter centers if you have to. 150 is what we actually strived on. Now with that, my habit is we still do huge step outs, as you've seen, because that step out was a monster step and we hit it. So no doubt about it, there'll be several holes that'll have to tighten that up.
Nice.
But with it, can you imagine if we had 4 to 5 million ounces of high grade? What that would do?
Well, to the front end of the mine. Oh yeah, I mean.
That's the front end. That's a capex killer.
Yeah.
There you have all your guys that are going to raise money for you. Well, you're only going to raise it for $1 billion for your first capex on let's just pick a number, say 2,000 tons a day, 1,500 tons a day, 2,000 tons a day. You're going to produce something like, 750,000 tons. If you're doing a 0.3 on the ounces, so it's 10 grams, right? You do the math on that, you're doing well with 250,000 ounce producer as a startup, as warming up to the big show. Which will take you 50 years to digest. This is a company maker. No mistake about it. It's a company maker.
I agree. In terms of how it's looking at the moment. Look, I guess final question is, say for example we're sitting here again at Beaver Creek in 12 months' time. What do you want to be able to tell me that you've achieved?
Great question. Again, it'll be in concert with our engineering company. I think we have to have a very cohesive plan how to actually fast track this thing on the rails to get it to a PEA, a high quality PEA. And we're talking that's going to involve a lot more engineering. The average PEA includes 2% engineering. We don't want that. We want something that's going to be a watered down pre-feas. So we want something that's going to have some good predictability to it, not what it might be. We all know what it might be. We can say that what this thing could be. I don't want that. I want something that's going to be more definite. So this is the important aspect of this. Again, we'll listen to what our feedback is from major shareholders. We'll listen to what happens with the engineering and see what the recommendations hold. Again, the captain of the ship won't be me. I'll be listening to the engineering firms that we've got, and we've got the best. We've hired the best. We've taken strides to make sure we've got the quality engineers to give us the best opinion. We've got 2 great guys, Chris Kern and Patrick Donnelly, that are market guys that are out there that know this aspect of what the financing would take to get us to the next level. But make no mistake about it, this is a serious deposit. This has got to be on the radar. For under $1, super undervalued. I mean, we should be trading at Research Capital has got us pegged at around 365. I think they're right. I think that's a pretty reasonable assessment where we're at. So we should be at. So.
No, it's a really fascinating story, and I appreciate your time. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this.